All right, so are you ready for this? We're going deep on one of football's most, like, perplexing figures.
Ronaldinho.
Ronaldinho, yeah. We're going way beyond the dazzling footwork
Mhm.
and that iconic smile to, like, uncover a story that's equal parts fascinating and honestly a bit baffling.
I think baffling is a good word for it.
It is.
It is. I mean, what's so captivating about his journey is this wild contrast, right? We're going from a football superstar
Mm-hmm.
raking in millions to, well, let's just say his retirement plan
Yeah.
didn't quite go as planned.
The guy went from a $90 million retirement fund to having just $59 in his bank account.
Yeah.
How does that even happen? We're digging through articles, interviews, even social media posts just to try to like
Yeah.
piece together this roller coaster ride.
It is. But before we get too deep into the whole financial saga,
Yeah.
it's crucial to remember like just how legendary Ronaldinho was
Yeah.
on the pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a World Cup winner with Brazil in 2002, a magician at Barcelona
Oh,
who
absolutely.
made jaws drop worldwide.
The joy he brought to the game was just infectious.
Yeah.
But that's what makes this duck dev so interesting, right? That same Ronaldinho earning, close to $300,000 a week at his peak
Oh, yeah.
seemed to like struggle with managing all that wealth.
Yeah, one of the most glaring examples is his infamous Coca-Cola sponsorship deal.
Hmm.
Imagine getting $750,000 a year,
Okay.
and all you have to do is stick to drinking Coke in
It
public.
sounds like a pretty sweet gig.
Right.
Yeah.
But in a move that still leaves people scratching their heads, Ronaldinho shows up at a press conference, cameras flashing, and casually sips on, wait for it, Pepsi.
Wait, seriously, like
Yeah.
Pepsi, like
I
the
mean,
rival
yes,
brand.
the rival brand.
Talk about a major fumble.
Oh, Coca-Cola immediately dropped him, publicly called the situation embarrassing.
Wow.
Looking back, it's almost comical,
Yeah.
but it really foreshadows some of the, like, questionable decisions that would plague his career.
It's like he was living life in the fast lane, both on and off the field. Yeah. I read that he even had what's been called a nightclub clause in his contract,
Yeah.
basically giving it the green light to party
Cardi.
2 nights a week.
2 nights a week.
And he still went beyond that.
His teammate, Jerome Louis, really spilled the tea on Ronaldinho's training habits, or lack thereof.
Mm.
He said Ronaldinho rarely showed up
Oh,
for
real?
practice,
Ah.
preferred to just, like, show up on game day.
Wow.
He even compared him to Romario, another legendary party animal, but emphasized that Romario at least delivered on the field.
So the dedication started to waver.
Definitely. Around 2008, injuries started piling up. The media began commenting on his weight gain.
Mhm.
Some articles even called him a, quote, distant memory of his former self.
Ouch. It's sad to see such a bright star start to fade.
Right.
So what happened with his World Cup journey after that 2002 win?
Well, despite believing he was still at his best,
Okay.
Ronaldinho wasn't selected for the Brazilian teams in 2010 and 2014.
Wow.
Imagine the disappointment.
That must have been a blow. I know he had a few comeback attempts. Did those fizzle out too?
They did. Despite, like, flashes of brilliance,
Yeah.
those comebacks were short-lived.
Mhm.
And then, in 2015, he retires at the age of 35, reportedly, with $90 million to his name.
You'd think he'd be set for life.
You would think
$90 million.
$90 million.
Yeah.
What went wrong? Well, that's where his brother, Roberto, enters the picture.
Okay.
Roberto takes over as his manager, and let's just say that $90 million didn't exactly stay put.
Okay, let's unpack this. What happened to the money?
So he used a big chunk of it to buy 57 properties.
Wait, 57 properties?
57.
What was he thinking?
Among those properties was a lake house where he built an illegal dock.
Oh, no.
This landed him with a hefty fine, $1.7 million, which for some reason he just refused to pay.
That seems illogical, to say the least.
It gets weirder.
Okay.
It turns out he also owed over $2 million in unpaid property taxes.
Oh, my God.
So the government steps in, seizes his properties, and even confiscates his Brazilian and Spanish passports.
Wow, talk about adding insult to injury.
But wait, it gets wilder.
Yeah.
He needed to travel to Paraguay. And instead of, sorting out his passport issues,
Yeah.
he and his brother cook up a plan that can only be described as audacious.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat here.
They decided to use a fake Paraguayan passport.
You've got to be kidding me.
And remember, this is Ronaldinho,
Yeah.
one of the most recognizable faces in the world, trying to sneak into Paraguay with a forged document.
Yeah.
And the kicker, is Brazilians can enter Paraguay with just their national ID cards.
He didn't even need a passport.
Didn't need a passport.
So he was a globally famous footballer trying to use a fake passport for a country he could enter with just an ID.
Yeah.
That's like a new level of absurdity.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And his defense, he claimed the passport was a gift. He didn't know it was fake. Even his lawyer called him stupid.
Okay, seriously, what was going on in his head? So what happened next? Did they let him into Paraguay?
Not quite. He ended up in jail,
Oh, no.
awaiting trial for almost 6 months. And what does he do in prison? He joins a football tournament.
Of course he did. Only Ronaldinho would find himself playing in a prison football league.
And, unsurprisingly, he dominates, scoring 11 goals in the final. This actually played a part in his release, with the judge concluding he's not a threat to society. Still, he was fined another $200,000, which by this point was probably pocket change compared to his financial woes.
Right, because around this time, a financial investigation revealed a shocking truth. His bank account balance was a mere $59.
$59.
From $90 million to $59.
Mind-blowing.
That's mind-blowing. How is that even possible?
It's a cautionary tale of epic proportions.
Yeah.
So, what does Ronaldinho do to try and bounce back from hitting rock bottom? He sets his sights on the world of cryptocurrency.
A cryptocurrency?
Yeah, launching his own coin, the Ronaldinho soccer coin. Really. But sadly, it was a major flop, barely attracting any followers on Instagram.
So, after that setback, did he kind of throw in the towel on the whole crypto thing?
Not quite. He then started promoting other crypto projects,
Oh.
some of which were, let's just say, a bit shady.
I have a feeling this isn't going to end well.
No.
Tell me more.
So, there was plenty of criticism. Some people even accused him of, outright scamming his followers. It all culminated in him being called before a congressional hearing
Oh, wow.
about a $61 million crypto scam that had used his image.
A congressional hearing? That's a whole new level of trouble.
Yeah, to be fair, he claimed he was a victim too, stating he had no real partnership with the company. But let's just say the evidence, photos, promotional materials suggest otherwise.
Yeah.
It was a messy, messy situation.
So after that whole crypto debacle, what did he do? Did he try to make a comeback, reputation-wise?
It seems like he shifted gears and tried to focus on promoting more traditional products.
Like that weird Rexona deodorant ad campaign?
Exactly. It was this bizarre marketing stunt where he first, blasts the Brazilian football team online, calling them one of the worst he'd ever seen, saying it was hard to even watch them play.
Ouch. That's harsh.
Right. People were understandably upset, but then, just a day later, he reveals it was all an elaborate ad for Rexona. He claimed the words were actually from, real Brazilian fans, and that he was joining Rexona in a movement to support the team.
Talk about a backpedal. Did that even work?
It's hard to say. It definitely got people talking, but maybe not in the way they'd hoped.
Yeah.
It all felt a bit forced.
Yeah.
As for his current financial status, it's a bit of a mystery.
Okay.
There are photos of him flying on private jets, which hints that he might be doing okay, but there's still a lot of speculation out there.
It's incredible how quickly things changed for him from the top of the world to, well, this.
It's definitely a cautionary tale, but it's also important to remember the immense pressure that comes with being a global icon like Ronaldinho.
That's true. We sometimes forget that these larger-than-life figures are still human, susceptible to the same pitfalls as anyone else.
Exactly, and when you look at the sources we're diving into, they paint a picture of someone who maybe wasn't quite prepared for the overwhelming fame and fortune that came his way.
There's this one quote from a Barcelona board member that really stood out to me. They said, Ronaldinho plays bongos until 2 in the morning every night. Everyone knows we have a discipline problem. Ronaldinho is getting older, partying all the time. How do we stop it?
That quote is so telling. It suggests that even those closest to him saw there was a problem, but felt helpless to intervene.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how much of his partying was like a genuine love for the nightlife versus a way to cope with the pressure of his career.
That's the million-dollar question. Was he escaping the constant scrutiny, needing to, unwind after the intensity of professional football? Or was it, as some have suggested, a sign of immaturity, an inability to handle the responsibilities that came with his success?
It's a complex situation, no doubt. And then there's the whole issue of his brother Roberto's role in all of this.
Yes, Roberto. As Ronaldinho's manager, he was entrusted with handling his finances and business deals.
Right.
And let's just say there are some serious questions surrounding his competence and maybe even his intentions.
Yeah, I've read reports about questionable investments, missed opportunities, and even allegations of misused funds.
It's difficult to say for sure what happened, but it's clear that Roberto's management, or lack thereof, played a significant role in Ronaldinho's financial downfall.
It's a classic example of the dangers of mixing family and business,
Right.
especially when you're dealing with such huge sums of money.
Absolutely. There needs to be clear boundaries, professional expertise, and most importantly, a system of checks and balances.
Which in Ronaldinho's case seems to have been sorely lacking.
And then, of course, there's the whole cryptocurrency saga.
Right.
It's like he went from one questionable financial decision to another.
It's almost as if he was drawn to these get-rich-quick schemes, desperate to reclaim his lost fortune. But to be fair to Ronaldinho and to our listeners who might not be super familiar with cryptocurrency, maybe we should take a step back and explain what it even is and why it can be so risky.
Good point. In the simplest terms, cryptocurrency is a digital form of money.
Okay.
It's decentralized, meaning it's not controlled by any government or institution.
So no banks or anything like that involved.
Right. And that's part of its appeal for some people,
Mm-hmm.
but it also makes it highly volatile and susceptible to scams.
So when Ronaldinho launched his own coin or endorsed other projects, he was basically asking people to trust him with their money in a very unregulated and risky market.
Essentially, yes. And for someone who had already demonstrated a lack of financial savvy, it was a recipe for disaster.
Right.
It's like putting all your chips on a single number on the roulette wheel.
Yeah.
You might hit the jackpot, but the odds are stacked against you.
That makes a lot of sense. So back to Ronaldinho. It's striking how different his public persona, that joyful, carefree footballer, is from the reality of his financial struggles.
It's a reminder that appearances can be deceiving.
Yeah.
Even those who seem to have it all can fall victim to poor decisions and bad luck.
His story also raises questions about our own fascination with celebrity culture.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we so quick to forgive or overlook the flaws of those we admire?
That's a great point. It's like we get so caught up in the spectacle, the entertainment,
Right.
that we become desensitized to the consequences of their actions.
And that makes Ronaldinho's story even more intriguing, Ray.
Yeah,
Despite the scandals, the financial ruin, he still maintains a certain level of popularity.
he does.
He's a huge following on social media. People still love him.
It speaks to the enduring power of his legacy as a footballer.
But it also makes us question our own values, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are we so captivated by the image that we're willing to turn a blind eye to the reality? It's a complex issue that goes beyond just Ronaldinho.
Absolutely. It speaks to broader societal issues about our obsession with fame and fortune.
Okay, let's shift our focus back to Ronaldinho and his journey after prison. Remember, he couldn't even pay that $200,000 fine, and his bank account had just $59 in it.
It's mind-boggling to go from multimillionaire status to practically penniless.
Yeah.
So what did he do to try and get back on his feet?
Well, as we discussed, his first attempt was launching the Ronaldinho soccer coin.
Right.
But that venture failed miserably.
It did. And then he went down the rabbit hole of promoting other crypto projects,
Mm-hmm.
many of which turned out to be, well, less than reputable.
It's a slippery slope, especially when you have an audience that trusts and admires you.
Exactly. And then came that congressional hearing about the $61 million crypto scam that used his image.
Right.
Despite claiming to be a victim, it seems like he was deeper than he initially let on.
It was definitely a low point in his career. So did he try to salvage what was left of his reputation and rebuild his life?
He seemed to move away from the risky world of cryptocurrency and try to focus on promoting more traditional products.
Ah, yes. That brings us back to the infamous Rexona deodorant campaign.
Right. It was a strange marketing ploy.
Yeah.
First, he publicly criticizes the Brazilian national team. Then, a day later, reveals it was all for a Rexona ad.
It felt like a desperate attempt to capitalize on whatever fame he had left.
It did, and it probably didn't land as well as they'd hoped. And then there are those pictures of him traveling on private jets, suggesting he might have regained some of his wealth.
It's a mystery, isn't it? We're left wondering about his true financial situation and what he's up to these days.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a real-life soap opera.
It really is. Ronaldinho's story is full of drama, scandal, and those unexpected twists and turns that keep you guessing.
And it leaves us with so many questions.
Has he truly learned from his mistakes?
Is he on a path to redemption, or will he continue to make headlines for all the wrong reasons?
What's interesting is that, despite all the chaos, Ronaldinho seems to have maintained a positive outlook. There's that quote where he says, "I am back now to how I was. In fact, I think I'm even stronger now. Everything seems easier now."
It's hard to tell if that's genuine optimism or just a facade.
Maybe it's a bit of both, but regardless, it's part of what makes him such a fascinating and complex figure.
So, as we continue our deep dive into the life of Ronaldinho, let's explore that idea of resilience. What's the significance of his playing style? How did he influence the game? And most importantly, what are his own thoughts on the trajectory of his career?
Let's get into it.
Okay, so we've talked about the financial roller coasters, questionable decisions, but let's not forget what made Ronaldinho a legend in the first place, his football.
Absolutely. His playing style was pure magic.
Yeah.
It was all about joy, creativity, and this incredible ability to improvise.
Mhm.
He wasn't just playing the game, he was dancing with it.
I've heard people say that he brought a sense of jogo bonito back to the sport.
Yes.
That beautiful game philosophy that Brazil is so famous for.
Exactly. He reminded everyone that football could be about flair, about expressing yourself on the pitch. It
Right.
wasn't just about winning, it was about entertaining, about putting on a show.
And he did it with a smile on his face, which is
Huh.
something you don't always see in professional sports,
True.
especially at that level.
Yeah, he had this infectious energy
Yeah.
that drew people in. Fans loved him. Teammates loved him. Even opponents couldn't help but admire his talent.
He inspired a whole generation of young players, didn't he?
He absolutely did. Players like Neymar, Messi, they've all spoken about how Ronaldinho influenced their style and their approach to the game.
It's interesting, though, because his playing career peaked relatively early.
Mm.
Do you think his off-field lifestyle played a role in his decline?
It's hard to say for sure, but I think it definitely contributed.
Yeah.
The constant partying, the lack of discipline, it takes a toll on your body and your focus.
And there are those quotes from Ronaldinho himself,
Yeah.
where he admitted to struggling with motivation towards the end of his career.
Right.
He said, "I wish I had continued to play at the top level for a little longer."
It's almost like he realized too late the importance of staying dedicated to his craft.
Which brings us back to that question of support systems for
Mhm.
young athletes.
Right.
Were the people around Ronaldinho doing enough to guide him, not just on the field, but off the field as well?
It's a crucial question.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in Ronaldinho's case, there were some serious missteps.
I mean, the illegal dock, the unpaid taxes, those are pretty basic things that a good manager should be on top of.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
And then that whole passport incident, it's mind-boggling.
What was he thinking?
Right. Trying to sneak into a country he could enter with an ID card using a fake passport.
It's like something out of a comedy sketch.
It is. Even his own lawyer called him stupid.
It makes you wonder, who is advising him or if he is even listening to anyone at all.
Right. It's a complex situation,
Mm-hmm.
but it highlights the importance of surrounding yourself with people who have your best interests at heart, people who will tell you the truth, even when it's not what you want to hear.
It's a lesson that applies to all of us,
Mm-hmm.
not just athletes or celebrities.
Yeah.
We need people in our lives who will challenge us, support us, and help us make smart decisions.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the key takeaways from Ronaldinho's story. It's a cautionary tale, yes, but it's also a reminder that we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
It's what we do after those mistakes that really matters.
And even though he's made his fair share of blunders, Ronaldinho still seems to possess a certain level of, resilience.
He does.
There's that quote where he says, "Life is like a wave. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. The important thing is to keep surfing."
An interesting analogy, right?
Yeah.
It suggests a willingness to embrace the ups and downs,
Yeah.
to keep moving forward, even when things get tough.
And maybe that's the most enduring part of his legacy. The ability to, find joy in the game, in life,
Yeah.
even when faced with adversity.
That's a powerful message, and it's something we can all learn from.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the fascinating and often baffling world of Ronaldinho, what are the lasting impressions? What should we take away from this story?
I think it's about balance.
Yeah.
Ronaldinho was an incredible talent on the field, but he struggled off the field. It highlights the importance of nurturing not just our skills and talents, but also the wisdom and discipline needed to manage success.
And recognizing that fame and fortune are fleeting. True fulfillment comes from, aligning our actions with our values, both on and off the field.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even the brightest stars can fall.
Yeah.
And that it's often the choices we make when the spotlight is brightest that determine our ultimate trajectory.
It's a powerful message and one that resonates, long after the final whistle has blown.
So as you continue to follow Ronaldinho's journey, we encourage you to reflect on his story, to consider the choices you're making in your own life, and to strive for that balance that leads to true and lasting fulfillment.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this final thought. What can you learn from Ronaldinho's experience? How can you apply those lessons to your own life to create a legacy that's not just about achievement, but also about integrity, wisdom, and a deep understanding of what truly matters?
Something to think about long after this deep dive has ended.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking those hidden gems of wisdom that lie beneath the surface of every story.